We used to say there's an app for that. These days, there's a podcast for that too. From comedy to true crime, women love having that companionship in their ear, and we're always on the lookout for the next thing to queue up. Well, here's what the Studio 5 team is listening to right now.
Hey, producer Amy Iverson. The podcast I like to dip into is The Run Through with Vogue. And yes, it's a lot of fashion, but you also get the backstory on the designers, which are often emotional and inspirational. Sometimes they'll have heavy hitters like the White House press secretary. And also you get the behind the scenes dish on the cover shoots. It's super interesting and just fun to be in the know.
Okay, so I'm listening to the Duolingo podcast right now. I'm listening to the Spanish version. So they have native speakers tell a story, and then a narrator chimes in every once in a while in English to kind of give you context for that previous section. So it's a really good balance between listening for words that you understand and trying to glean the information in the language that you're learning, and then having an English speaker come in and kind of explain what happened in the previous section. So it's a really great way to kind of get immersed in the language.
Producer Mindy Dunyan, and one podcast I'm currently loving is called Scamanda. So I just started it, but I'm totally hooked. It's about this young blogger who she starts writing about this cancer that she has, and she gets a lot of sympathy from friends and family. She ends up duping them out of thousands of dollars, and it turns out she just didn't even have cancer. So the host, as she goes into the podcast, she's uncovering just crazy details. And if you are kind of into that investigative sort of podcast, this is the one.
A podcast I love to listen to get my pop culture fix is the Sunday Sit Down podcast with journalist and television host Willie Geist. He interviews big name celebrities that I feel like don't normally do in-depth interviews like this, but actors, musicians, you name it, he's chatted with them, and it's super interesting to learn more about their life on a more personal level. So listen to it. It's fun.
Hey friends, the podcast I am recommending to you today is 3 in 30. It's a podcast for moms. It's by host Rachel Nilsson. I love this podcast because it's very practical. It's 30 minutes every week. It gives you 3 takeaways that you can apply that day to whatever the topic is. This has helped us navigate through things like screen time, quiet time, routines, how to make our mornings smoother. It's so practical, even to the point where they have some topics that are a little harder, like how to feel joy in motherhood when it feels hard. Things that maybe we don't talk about all the time, but I think every mom needs. 3 in 30, catch it every week. That's my pick.
When I hop in the car or I'm around the house, I'm often pulling in a podcast by Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. He's a clinical psychologist. His words are big and his research is heavy, and I'm finding it super intellectual and interesting to help me make sense of the world, its people, and sort of what's going on out there.